Alright, welcome to the Gil Can Run Show, episode 18. We've almost done 20 of these things. I finished the Hartford Marathon today, and I gotta tell you, I shocked the crap out of myself. I wanted to start with the 4-hour pace group. My friend, one of my very good friends, was pacing somebody else for a just sub 4 marathon. She happened to also be part of the same medical study that I'm taking part in, that I have to finish up tomorrow morning at Quinnipiac Medical. They're testing stress levels based on age and things like that. It's all very cool. So I was like, okay, well, I'll run with you guys. And she gave me a little pace bracelet. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them. I think I'm going to use them all the time now. I didn't just hit 4 hours or do sub 4 hours. My old PR was 4:27:17 that I did in Philadelphia last year. Okay, 4:27:17. My new PR is 3:53:31. I took 34 minutes off of my PR. 34 minutes. And I mean, all year long, I've been doing, 4:40s, 4:50s, a couple 5 hours, I think. I mean, I've just been brutal all year. So I cannot begin to tell you how excited I was, for one. I felt good all the way through. I wouldn't have been able to do it without my friends. Even though the girl that she was pacing, the woman she was pacing, had serious medical problems, and she fell back to stay with her, which is absolutely the right decision. I don't know how the woman made it to the finish line, but she did. She was doubling over in pain. She was having serious stomach issues, and she literally collapsed at the finish line. She started to fall. My friend picked her up, got someone over there with a wheelchair, got her in the wheelchair. I mean, it was an incredible scene. The Quinnipiac Medical stuff was right at the finish line, right? So I had a great view of everything because we were actually on the other side of the finish line from, the regular area. We were on the other side of the street. We were all alone. So, we finished, they took us into the medical tent, we did our testing, and then I went out and I watched pretty much all my friends finish, which was very cool. Well, the ones that I finished in front of, which was a lot more of them than I normally finish in front of today. And so, I stayed and I watched everyone finish, and I welcomed them across the finish line, and it was very cool, and I was very excited. A couple of my friends did very well. 2 of my friends that I know of did sub 3:30s. One of whom, it was his very first marathon, and he did a sub 3:30. But he was always a very good athlete, an excellent drummer, played in a few bands with him, and he did, I think, a 3:26, I want to say. And I forget where my other friend came in, but I know he was sub 3:30 as well, and he wasn't expecting to be sub 3:30. So it was a good day for everyone. Another one of my friends did his very first marathon, came in just under 5 hours, and that was very cool because it was his first one. And he works very hard at it, and he is a very cool dude. So congratulations to everyone who ran a marathon today, if you're watching. And, well, congratulations to anyone who finishes any sort of race or anything. I mean, it's just crazy, right? I actually don't hurt that bad. I'm a little slow going down the stairs, but other than that, I'm pretty good. I have a little bit of a headache right now. I'm a little bit warm. I just had a nice big dinner after a nice big lunch. We actually stopped off for lunch afterwards. We went to a place down the road from the start-finish line. A lot of places were doing discounts for, race participants today, and we stopped off at this place, and it was this Italian place, and they didn't have a lot of vegetarian stuff on the menu, but the waiter was like, try these raviolis in an orange sauce. no joke, an orange sauce. He's like, they've been on the menu for like 25 years. So they've been on the menu long enough that they could legally have a drink and they can rent a car. So we went with that, and it was phenomenal. Oh, so good. So there was that, and then I just made myself a dinner, had some dessert, had some espresso, had some ice cream, and I'm contemplating as to whether or not to have milk and cookies as well, but I'm probably going to hold off because I think I've eaten enough today. I'm not really eating because I'm hungry or any hungrier than I normally am. I'm eating because I'm excited. I'm excited, and yet at the same time, I don't really feel like I really grasp. Like, I get that what I did was a huge thing. I mean, beating your PR by 34 minutes is huge, right? Like, you know, most of the time it's a minute here, 2 minutes here, 5 minutes maybe there. You know, some people it's a few seconds here or there. I just wrecked my PR. I stayed focused. I stayed on point. I did what I planned to do, and that little bracelet, I was able to sit there and I was able to look at it and say, okay, this mile I need to do this, and that's what I did. Well, actually, that's not true. At the start, we started out kind of fast. We started out a little faster than what a straight 4 pace would be, and it was actually a modified warm-up 4 was the original plan. But we were doing a straight 4. We were a little bit faster than a straight 4, and everyone seemed okay. And then, you know, a little after the 10-kilometer mark, things kind of started coming off the rails for this one woman. And then shortly after that, around mile 9, I think, is when they kind of started dropping back, and I just kept going. And it's hard for me because I want to be helpful and I want to look out for other people. I mean, that's just the nature of what I do and of who I am. And so there was a part of me for a while, I was like, okay, maybe I should slow down a little bit here and let them catch up. And I kind of tried that here and there and just kind of figured that they would catch up because I didn't know what was happening during the race. I didn't find out until after the race what was going on. So you know, but they never caught up. And I said, you know what, just got to keep going, keep plugging along. So I did. And I had a good time. I did have a slight problem. You know the mantra, never try anything new on race day? Well, I didn't entirely follow that. I did 2 new things today. One, I tried these goo blocks because I was almost out of Cliff Bars and I had them for free, and I'm like, you know what, I'll give them a try because one package of them is, you know, 200 calories. So I figured, okay, I can do half at one point and half at another, and I only need to eat 3 times today because only 3 hours and I only eat once an hour. Even though every now and then I'll grab little things here and there on the course. Like they had, at one of the fire stations, there were pretzels. So I stopped and I got pretzel. You know, while I didn't stop, I grabbed a handful of pretzels and I was popping pretzels. I actually aspirated a pretzel. It was very, very uncomfortable. But so I had a couple pretzels. But for the most part, it was just Gatorade, water, and those little blocks. And 1 Cliff Bar that I had at the first stop. I did Cliff Bar, and then I did 2 sets of the blocks, and that was that. And I got through. I was pretty good on that. I didn't have any hydration problems. When the last 1.5 miles, 2 miles, I got little tiny twinges, like the beginnings of cramps in my calf muscles, which is, you know, usually what happens to me around mile 18, mile 19, but it stayed off until I'm going to say 24 and a half. 24 and a half, maybe almost to 25 is when it just started getting little shots here and there. And I was like, well, at this point, what does it matter? At that point, I had my shirt off, though. Funny story. So we start off, and we're at mile maybe 2 or 3, and I see my buddy up in front of us. And I kind of yelled out to him, but he didn't hear us. And then Deb's like, come on, we'll catch up to him. So we start sprinting a little bit to catch up to him. And we both, you know, poke him in the side as we run past. And he was like, and he made a joke because I was wearing a new singlet that Quinnipiac gave me because they wanted to be able to easily identify the people in the study. So they gave me a singlet, and actually it's on the other side of the room. I'm not going to worry about it. And it was a little tight up top on the moobs. And, you know, I had Band-Aids on, and I had Body Glide on, and I still started chafing. Around mile 16 or so is when I noticed. Same time that, you know, that part of it's an out and back. And same time two of my buddies passed me, the ones that finished sub 3:30 passed me. And I happened to look down and I noticed 2 red spots on either side. So I figured, okay, I'll go a couple aid stations and see if they have Vaseline. Because usually there's a Vaseline, and just smear some on and call it a day. Well, they didn't. So after the turnaround, I decided that since I knew that, you know, the 2 aid stations I was about to pass weren't going to have them, and that's a couple more miles, and then, you know, maybe that next aid station's going to have them. I was like, forget it. So I just sat there. I actually had my bib pinned to my shirt, which sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. And I thought that I would be okay today, so I had my bib pinned to my shirt. I unpinned it. I had to slow down. I actually had to slow down to a walk for probably a minute or so, and pinned it on my shorts, because I wasn't going to pin it on my shorts while I was running, because that is just a recipe for disaster. I don't have a Prince Albert, and I don't want one. I know you're sitting there saying, ooh, TMI. Well, tough, it's me. So I was walking and, you know, got it on. Once I had the bib on, it was a simple matter of taking off the singlet, and I just held it the rest of the way. I was going to tuck it in my shorts or anything like that, because I didn't want to disturb anything in my lower body, because I was just running so well. So I got that. I actually made up the time that I lost doing that on that mile. It probably hurt me right at the end. If I hadn't had to do that, I probably would have been in better shape to have a better kick at the end. Because my last mile was on target. I didn't have one split above the targets on the band. Not one. But I was only 1 second below that last mile. I was at 9:33 when they were saying a 9:34. So it probably cost me a few seconds towards the end of the race, just being tired, because I you know, put a little bit of a kick on to try and catch up, because I hadn't gone over any of those split times, so I didn't want to start. I didn't want to start any bad habits. I didn't want anything bad happening, so I just caught up and I did it, and then I you know, continued on the way. And I was under a lot. And only in the last 6 miles or so, the last 10K maybe, I was pretty much on target with every mile. I wasn't severely under. There were miles where I was, you know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds under what they were saying a lot of the time. But in those last few miles, I was pretty much right there. So, can I go faster? Maybe. Maybe. Obviously, pinned to the shorts, you know, that would probably save me some time and just might, you know, keep me a little focused and not play games with, you know, friends up in front of me. You know, if they're in front of me and I catch them, I'll catch them. If I'm not going to catch them, don't worry about it. It would probably save me a few seconds and save me some legs for the end of the race. But it was perfect conditions. It was sunny. There was quite a bit of shade on the course. It was cool at the start. It stayed cool throughout the race. It was dry so many times Hartford, there's rain, there's humidity, but it was dry, it was nice, and I really had a great time. I really did. I'm very amazed with what I accomplished today, because that was a big goal for me. You've heard me say it. One of my goals for this year, you know, is a sub 4-hour marathon. So I did that. And, you know, I'm now a sub 4-hour marathoner. I did it. I got a little emotional at the end of the race. Here I am, no shirt, cross the finish. As I'm coming down, because at the end of the race, the road is just packed with people and everybody's cheering. And as I came up over the second to last hill in Hartford, as you're coming down the last mile, you go up a little bit on the highway, come back down. It's really an exit ramp. You come back down into Columbus Circle in Hartford, and then after Columbus Circle, you got to climb back up to the finish line. And the finish line's actually, I mean, the finish line itself is flat, but right up to the finish line, about, you know, maybe not even 100 yards in front of the finish line, you're still going uphill. So as I came down the exit ramp, I started realizing, okay, there's nothing that's going to stop me from being sub 4 hours at this point. And I got a little choked up. And then as I came into Columbus Circle and so many people were cheering, and there weren't a lot of other people around me, and I actually pulled a Ronaldo, which, if you don't know Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the best football players in the world. You call it soccer, most of you that are watching this, but he's one of the best football players in the world. And a lot of times when he scores a goal, he does, you know, he tells everyone to be quiet. And, you know, it's just like his thing. Like, you know, don't get too excited now. I've done this before, sort of thing. You know, it's kind of a cocky sort of thing. But I really didn't want anybody cheering because I was, like, losing my shit. So, like, I'm doing this as I'm going down. And I crossed the finish line, and I just, you know, had some tears. And the lady goes to put, you know, the space blanket on me, and you know, everyone's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Because someone's crying at the end of a marathon. What do you think? They've hurt themselves really bad. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And the lady that's put the space blanket on me is like, do you need a hug? And I'm like, yes. So that was nice. And then the QU medical tent was right there. So, you know, they had my medal, they had my water bottle and all that stuff, so they just took me right in. I, you know, did my blood, peed in a cup, they took my pulse. My pulse was 144 at the finish. Here I am, like, my resting heart rate is usually like low 50s, high 40s, and at the end of a marathon I'm at 144. So it's pretty significant. But so it was pretty cool, and as I said, finished up, went in the tent, did my thing, hung out, waited for my friends to cross, you know, and then we went and we hung out. We had a good time. It's a very good time, Hartford. They have, like, the whole park is packed with, you know, tents of advertisers and folks and stuff. And then there's a beer garden, and there's Harpoon, which, like, I like beer, right? I like, you know, crafty-ish beers and that stuff. But after a marathon, and, like, a lot of my friends get upset with me about this, because a lot of my friends are very much into craft brewing and microbreweries and things like that. And I get it. But when I'm done with a marathon, I don't want something too, you know, crazy. And I think it's because I don't know if it happens to everyone. I know there are people that it happens to besides me, but everything, the taste gets amplified for me. So everything tastes really amazing. But the thing is that things that are very flavorful end up, you know, for like an hour or so afterwards. Things that are really flavorful end up kind of being way overpowering. So you end up with these microbrews and like, I'm just like, right? Like all I want is some like flavorless Miller Lite or something. Just give me some alcohol that doesn't have any flavor and I can just, you know, have a little bit to, you know, numb myself just slightly and be done with it. I don't need like, you know, Oktoberfest pumpkin spice beer or whatever. Like, I don't need that at the end of a race. Like, you know, I get it, and that's what people generally want, but, you know, and that's fine to have that stuff, but just get something cheap and domestic that's just light and crisp, and it's just, you know, it is what it is. I don't understand why they don't do that. You know, I don't care what it is. Like, I just, you know, I don't need something that drastic at the end of a race. So that was one complaint. But other than that, you know, so when I got home finally and I showered, man, did that hurt. And it was funny because people were like, oh, you know, put Body Glide in before you get in the shower, do this, do that. And one of my friends looked at me and said, she said, you just ran sub 4 hours. You're tough enough. Just get in the shower. And that's what I did. And I got to tell you, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't comfortable either. I mean, I've had problems in training because I didn't put Band-Aids on or whatever, and I thought that I wasn't running long enough, and sure enough, I ended up, you know, tearing one up pretty good. Yeah, it wasn't horrible. Like, I've had worse. I had a motorcycle accident when I was 14. I fell off the back of a friend's bike. They were not doing what they should have been doing, and when they hit the gas, I got dumped right off the back. And let me tell you, that was much more painful getting in the bathtub after that. So, and I needed to get in the bathtub. Sorry, I had to adjust there. My legs are, as you can imagine, not enjoying just sitting for right now. So, like that was, you know, it was uncomfortable. I'll admit that was uncomfortable. So, up next, I don't have anything on the schedule until almost the weekend before Thanksgiving. So, lots of training coming up. I'm going to have to do a long run in there. I haven't had to do just a long training run in months. Probably not since, like, I don't know, maybe... I don't think I've had to do one all year. I'm going to have to look through my schedule and see. I don't think I've had to do anything all year for a long training run. So I'm going to have to do one because it's, what, 5 weeks in between now and I think it's November 20th. And that's going to be Philly. And then Roxbury ends my marathoning year. And then hopefully I'll be able to get myself over to Italy to do Rome in April. And that would be my first intended marathon of 2016. And go from there. And just see how I'm feeling and see what else is going on and see what's popping and locking and, you know, just go out and have fun. Ooh, there is one more thing that dawned on me on my way home and I had to check on it. Some of you may remember, and obviously I get a little political about things. It's okay. It's who I am. Some of you may remember in the 2012 presidential campaign, one particular candidate who is in the House of Representatives currently, who was a vice presidential candidate for a party that I generally, now I've voted for certain people in that party in my life, but generally speaking, most of them I can't stand their politics. And Most of the time on a local level, I can at least say they're good people. Okay? I can say, okay, so-and-so is a good person on a local level, even to an extent on a state level. Although the last Republican governor got there because her predecessor, when she was lieutenant governor, did in fact have to go to jail for, well, basically it was an elaborate bribery scheme. He was giving out state contracts and the contractors were giving him gifts. It was kind of all Shawshank Redemption-y. So it had nothing to do with prisons except that he ended up in a prison. So, but in general, and well, there was that mayor of Waterbury who was trying to buy sex from a prostitute's 13-year-old niece that he knew. So, okay, so some of them aren't very decent people, but most of the time I can say, oh, this guy who's running for this office, he's a good guy. I'm not going to vote for him because I disagree with him, but he's a good guy. I can say that, right? But when it comes to the national ones, I can't really say that a lot because they don't seem to be very good. And this particular guy is running for vice president of the United States, Paul Ryan. And he said, "Oh yeah, no, I did a marathon once. I was sub 3 something. I was sub 3 something. That's what he said. He was not sub 3 anything. He wasn't even sub 4. He was like 4:01:21 or something like that. I had forgotten the actual number. I had to look it up right before I started recording, and now I'm forgetting it again. I know it was 4:01, and I forget the seconds." But on my way home, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, gee, did I go faster than him? Because I didn't remember if he was a little bit above 4, or if he was a little bit under 4, but I knew he was right around the 4-hour range. And sure enough, I beat the hell out of him. Like almost 8 minutes. Close to 8 minutes. So I did have to tweet him. And I said, hey, I did something you've never done. And at least I have integrity. It's actually, the hashtags that I used were sub 4 PR and integrity. So, because, that's just, I don't always remember all my numbers, but I know generally where my PRs are. I know generally where my numbers are. I don't make any allusion to being fast or being able to BQ or anything like that. I just generally know where I sit speed-wise. I was completely shocked. I was setting a goal for 4 hours, but I was really in the back of my mind was thinking today, 4:10, 4:15, I'll be more than happy. Because I had been feeling really good. And I had been running really well, really fast. So I figured, there's a very good course to PR on, and I have a good feeling I can knock quite a bit of time off. And I knocked a lot of time off. So I was very shocked by that. And at the same time though, I know where I stand. I know, in the running world, that what I did was a big deal in general, but I'm still, if I wanted to BQ, I would have had to knock over 43 minutes off of the time that I just did. Just to be considered, I have to be below 3:10 at my age. Just to be considered. That doesn't even actually get you in, because they might end up adjusting and making the cutoff lower, depending on how many people they have. So, 43 minutes over the course of 26 miles is pretty close to 2 minutes a mile. What are you looking at? Like 140 something? 145 maybe a mile? Maybe between 145 and 2 minutes a mile. That's huge. That's a huge, well, yeah, 26.2, you'd have 17, So that's a little bit more than 1.5. So yeah. So, you're looking at like a huge difference, right? If I went out that fast, I wouldn't survive till the end. Not right now. I don't know if maybe I can do it in the future if I really start training hard and building my upper body and core. You know, not building it like get ripped, but you know, just building strength, particularly in my core. I am weak in my core. It's just a fact. In my upper back, I slouch a lot. It causes problems with, you know, when you're running, if you have bad posture. And you know, at the start of the race, I'm good. And towards the end of the race, I'm hunched over. Like right now, I'm hunched over because there's just pain all through, you know, the back of my neck and everything right now. So I'm doing my best, but my best isn't very good. But, you know, I put in a lot of work to do what I just did today. And, like, I was always really, because I knew where I was, and I was always really upset when he said, oh, under 3 something, and it turns out that he wasn't. And he said, oh, I misspoke, but, I mean, you weren't even under 4 something. So it's not like you were thinking 4 and said 3. You weren't under anything. You were at 4:01. You know, it's just, it really pissed me off. So I felt the need to say something. And I know he doesn't check the Twitter account. I know it's interns and, you know, his social media person that's going to, or the social media person that the caucus assigns to him, whatever. I don't know if they do personal or if they have, or if it's a pool sort of situation. I know in the state government it's a pool. They have PR people. The caucuses will have X amount of PR people, and they'll assign them to X amount of representatives and senators, at least in the state of Connecticut. So, because I used to, you know, book interviews with all these people all the time, so that's how I did it. But I never really had to book with any of our Congress people through their offices, because most of the Congress people, you know, U.S. Congress people that we have, I know. Or people would be contacting me because they wanted to come on and talk about something. So they're a little bit different than what I dealt with the state legislature. But I mean, you just, you know, I had to say something. Because you just don't, you know what you did. You always know what you did. Because it's a huge accomplishment. And if it's not that huge of an accomplishment for you, then why did you do it in the first place? Because then you're just kind of being a dick. So this is why I have problems. I mean, that's just a lack of integrity. It's a lack of, you know, respect for the sport, respect for other runners. Oh, a sub 3 something. My ass. So, it's just, you know, as I said, I'm a sub 4 hour marathoner. That is that. No one can ever take that away from me. The rest of my life, I get to say that, no matter what happens. I will never be able to say I'm a sub 3 hour marathoner. It'll never happen. Even if I were to one day get fast enough to Boston qualify, I mean, taking an entire hour off of what I just did today, you know, that's 2 minutes plus per mile. So I was doing 8:58, so you're talking 6:58 per mile. That just, or was I doing 8:55? Maybe I was doing 8:55, somebody else was doing 8:58. My mind is not 100% tonight because, you know, I guess you could call it some runner's high or whatever. I'm just, you know, well, and the 2 glasses of wine I had with dinner probably didn't help me. But usually I can drink a lot more than that, but obviously I'm a little compromised this evening, so there's that. You know, it's great though. So I went through, yesterday I did hang up some of my running stuff that I had. I got a couple plaques last year from my running club, listing all of the marathons that I ran. So I put those up on the wall. I got my college diploma up on the wall, a couple other things. And that's the other thing. So Quinnipiac gave me the singlet that says Quinnipiac on it. Great. But I didn't graduate from Quinnipiac. I'm running down the road and everyone's like, yeah, Quinnipiac, right? Because it's a pretty big university now near me. You might know they actually won the NCAA hockey tournament a couple years ago. They have a very good hockey program. And, you know, well, high school hockey is a huge thing around here. And actually, the best goalie in the NHL, Jonathan Quick, went to my high school. A few years after I did, but he went to my high school. So, you know, it's a big deal. I mean, my high school is probably the best high school in the state. I'm not even just saying that. I actually hated my high school. But they are probably the best high school hockey team in the state, you know, over the long haul. Currently, they're not the best, but overall, they've been a very good program. They continue to be a good program. So hockey's a big deal. We don't do well with professional hockey. Ask the Hartford Whalers. Still upset about that. Screw you, Carolina. But for anyone that doesn't know, the Carolina Hurricanes used to be the Hartford Whalers. But we wouldn't build them a new arena because we're not idiots. We don't like to just spend millions and millions of dollars on arenas for teams that don't really seem to want to be here in the first place. So, you know, but I do miss them, and I miss being able to watch relatively cheap NHL games close to home. So, but that's all right because, you know, we do have very good high school and now collegiate hockey programs in the state, and that's kind of cool. So, so I had this Quinnipiac singlet on, and I realized running a race, I've never seen any, and I've run races in New Jersey, I've run races in New York, and Connecticut, and Pennsylvania, and I've never once seen anyone in a Seton Hall singlet, or a Seton Hall shirt, or Seton Hall anything. And I understand Seton Hall isn't that big of a school, right? We're like a mid-sized school, you know, but like the New Jersey Marathon, I'm running this, and I must have seen 1,000 Rutgers shirts lining the streets in the race, just Rutgers everywhere. And I understand Rutgers is a huge school, like, you know, population of a small town school, a large town. It's a big school, but, you know, somebody had to be repping Seton Hall, and nobody was. And I get that we don't have the best alumni, you know, turnout because, well, like my story, they completely screwed me over. Like, they do a lot when you're out, like, finding you jobs and stuff like that. But, I mean, they really screwed me. To the tune of, like, $14,000 screwed me by not following any sort of protocol to make sure that the person they were talking to on the other end of the phone was somebody that could actually talk about my account. So, yeah, I kind of got hosed, and I get it. Like, and on that end, I will always be mad at Seton Hall for it. The fact that I've never really done much with my degree, you know, a little bit of that kind of falls on them too. I didn't have the best grades because I was having some difficulties. And I'll always have difficulties in those particular ways. But, you know, they could have done a little bit more to help me out. Clearly I was struggling, and they didn't really care much that I was struggling. They just kind of were like taking my money and letting me keep going. They really never did anything to really help. And so, you know, there's certain things that I'll be mad at, but there's certain things that I love. You know, I have great friends from Seton Hall. Absolutely some of the best people I've ever met in my life. I met there. I had some great times. I got to play rugby and was on the best college radio station in the country. You know, there were a lot of good things. So my thought is, I think I'm going to contact the track team. They actually have an excellent track team at Seton Hall. And I'm going to contact the track team and say, listen, I never see anyone in a Seton Hall singlet when I'm at these events. I see people sporting Rutgers gear and, you know, all these other universities. Saw a lot of UConn today. But I never see anything Seton Hall. And I won't wear it all the time, but I would like to wear a Seton Hall singlet in a race. Or a tech tee. Or whatever, depending on what time of year. So I'm going to see if they want to send me one. You know, little alumni gift, you know, for being out there and doing stuff. You know, could do a little university pimping. Actually, my niece spoke to me when we went to the Red Bulls game. We were talking about what she wants to do for college. And she actually does want to apply to Seton Hall as a backup. I don't think her mother's going to be too pleased because I did struggle so much. But it's a good backup school, and she gets a free application because I can get her a free application. All I have to do is contact the alumni office, and they will give me a free application. So she won't have to pay a fee. And then if she were to get in, you know, and she needed it, she'd have it. So there is that. And so we will see. We'll see what happens. But other than that, I really had a really great day today. I had a great time hanging out with my friends and crying on strange people's shoulders and everything that came with it. It was a really great race. It was a great day to be out there. It was a great day in general. It really was. You know, I got there in plenty of time, got everything done that I needed to do, hit tons of goals, finished the New England double, they're calling it. If you run Vermont City and Burlington and then you run Hartford, they're calling it the New England double. You get a special medal. It's got all the New England states on it. It's got a little star at Burlington, Vermont. It's got a little star at Hartford. It says, you know, 52.4 miles, and it's pretty cool. So, and it's funny because Vermont was shaping up to be one of my best races, and then the wheels fell off at mile 20 or so. I started cramping up. I told you guys about that. It was brutal. It was painful. I crossed the line. I couldn't bend my legs. I was running like a stick, you know, a guy with sticks for legs, like Seamus on Family Guy. It's literally, I was running like Seamus from Family Guy. Yarg. And, you know, it was a tough race for me. And then I turned around today, and Hartford, I blew it up. It was, you know, I mean, I PR'd by 34 minutes. What more needs to be said, right? So, I've actually done an entire show just about running. Even though there was some political stuff, it was still about running. Isn't that amazing? I did an entire show about running. So, that is it for this week. I will be back, same bat time, same bat channel. We got this special time this week because I felt really good. I felt like something special was going to happen today. And sure enough, something really special did happen today. So, I will be back next week. As I said, same bat time, same bat channel. So keep it tuned right here for all your running weirdness on the Gil Can Run Show. Make sure to, you know, if you want to drop a line on the website, on the book faces, on the tweeters. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, tell people you don't like. Particularly if you find me annoying, then definitely tell people you don't like, because, you know, then you're, you know, giving them this gift. So, yeah, no, thank you very much for being here. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next time. And remember to have fun, keep running, because if Gil can run, then so can you. Ciao.